Leslie here with Parenting Paused. Just a quick reminder that we're getting ready to have our 5th Pure Joy Parent Coach training coming up in mid-March. And if you'd like more information about that, hop on over to the website at purejoyparenting.com and check it out. Look under coaching. Shoot me an email or fill out an application or come to one of our free info calls and come be a Pure Joy Parent Coach. These trainings are outrageous. Let me tell you, you're going to learn a lot. They're personal as well as professional. And of course, if your heart is calling, I would love to have you over at Pure Joy. So this week, let's talk about innocence. Now, one of the things that I've noticed as an adult that actually gets lost is our innocence. So let's think about it. When you have children, think about those young ones. They just have this inability to be anything other than they are. They come in just precious and beautiful. They have all these feelings and these sensations, and they express them. They don't really have the capacity to try to be somebody different than they are, and they just express directly out, with whatever's going on. Now, unfortunately, in our parenting models that saw good behavior as the gold standard, we started punishing and consequencing our children for telling the truth and for expressing what is happening to them. We got so focused on good behavior that we stopped listening to the expression of our children. Now, what that happens, and that happened to all of us, is that we tend to start to cover over and we start to repress this deep, deep innocence. We get the message that who we are is not lovable. Who we are is not okay. So then we start to form and try to create this persona that's going to get us the love that we need. And it's usually by being someone different than we actually are. Now, of course, this is the wisest thing that anybody could do as a child, because it's very important to make sure that you get your caregivers to take care of you, right? Because you need to survive within that environment. But then what happens is that persona begins to cover over the innocence and the delight and the beauty of our hearts. Now, that all happens as children. And what happens is we forget to update that when we come into parenting. So here we come into parenting trying to often be someone that we're not. We read all the books, we check in with all the experts, we listen to our parents, we listen to everybody else. So we lose touch with that wisdom, with that innocence, with that knowing inside what we would like to give our children, how we would like to show up for our children. So it gets so pervasive outside, and there's a lot of judgment, as you probably know from the outside, if your children do not behave in a certain way from a very young age. So we, again, pass down the same thing that happened to us. We start to inhibit that innocence in the child. We may punish it or consequence the child for expressing, because often, remember, our expression, our feelings drive our behavior. So we're going to express by hitting, maybe biting, yelling, not listening, all those things that can be very activating to the parent. And so when we did that, again, there was a lot of love withdrawn, a lot of energy, a lot of things happened to us. So we clearly get the message that our innocence and who we are is not okay. Makes total sense, doesn't it? And yet that lives deep inside of us, because that persona and those conclusions that we come to very early, they travel with us unless we are willing to examine them. So I found parenting to be the most incredible field of all of those places activating again, because I was witnessing those in my daughter. And I began to examine my emotional reactions to her innocence. So that's what you're going to play with this week. You are going to ask yourself, because we often say children are manipulating us and they're doing all these things to us and they're pushing our buttons. Well, just check it out to see if that's actually true. What I found out was it wasn't. My daughter was innocently just trying to be who she was. Now, she wasn't mature, so of course, a lot of her ways of expressing who she was triggering for me. But when I really examined closely, I got it that she wasn't out to get me. Now, that is really, really important to check into and find out. Really look at that this week when you think, oh, my child is manipulating me. Really? Just slow down and really see, is that true? Or is your child just trying to get their needs met? Is your child just trying to tell you who they are? Are they innocently trying to express and yet running up against your limit, your barrier that says, hey, you need to be different than you are for me to be okay. All right, now you're going to check that out and just see, because again, in Pure Joy, we're all about inquiring, examining. We're not about telling you how to be or who to be. And yet it's really, really amazing when you're able to go inside, when you give yourself permission to examine your internal disturbance, your suffering, so that you can innocently start showing up just the way you are with your wisdom in your parenting. All right, lovies, I hope you have a great week this week, and we'll see you next week for Parenting Paused.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Parenting Paused. If you enjoyed the episode, do me a favor and share it with your mama friends. You can also leave a review wherever you listen, which will support getting the Pure Joy message out. Come on over to the Pure Joy Parenting Practice Facebook page or join me on Instagram to hear more. And don't forget to download your free copy of the Safe Seat course on the Pure Joy website. And while there, check out the offerings page to go deeper in the Pure Joy work.